scars remind me to appreciate the days I don't have to.
Jimmy there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hi, Jim.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm scared.
What?
You shouldn't have sent me. You shouldn't have sent me that podcast. Now I got all kinds of things to worry about. Like I don't have enough in my life, and I got to worry about somebody smuggling a nuclear bomb into an Iranian facility and blowing it up, and the world wondering who caused that. There are some really scary nightmare scenarios those people go through. I did sort of skip ahead a little bit, and I think I found a conversation about what the future holds in terms of proliferation of nuclear weapons and how small these things can be and all the different ways they can be dispensed. They don't even have to be, they can be dirty bombs like you were talking about, the kind of damage that can be done. And it really is kind of a nightmare scenario when you consider how many different, when there are that many ways something can go wrong, the rules of Murphy's Law dictates that, eventually it will go wrong somewhere, It just seems to be a matter of time.
Yeah. And what Jim's talking about is the fact that yesterday, when I got home, I started looking at a podcast, and it was about AI. By the way, I just wanted to say, that whole idea I was talking about, Jim, with like Pretty Poison, and like, hey, just have AI kind of, throw out the structure for me, and like I take a look at that
and the styles,
and then like make it as much like Pretty Poison as possible, but don't infringe on any copyright, and let's like change the names, and it spits something back to me, and I look at it and start saying, well, this, I'll write a screenplay, and maybe I was being a little bit insensitive to the Writers Guild of America.
Did you hear something?
No, I didn't hear anything. Although I did hear something that Bay Logan kind of.
I did hear that.
I heard the
I
podcast.
did see that. Yeah.
But anyway, if I called Bay Logan if I called him a gopher, and he obviously wasn't. He worked for Harvey Weinstein, and I meant on the first movie that I was working with him on, he just seemed to be assigned to me because first of all, he could speak English, and nobody else speak English because we were in Hong Kong, and at that, nobody spoke English, and if I didn't mean to call him that, and. I didn't direct that movie. That's the point I was trying to make, is I didn't direct that movie, and I never really had any. I always liked him. Anyway, what was I talking about?
Well, that conversation that you forwarded to me this morning, that podcast of those people talking about nuclear weapons. I think they start talking about AI, and then they.
Well, you're talking about the Writers Guild. You said
well, yeah. I'll get back to that in a second, Jim. But yes, I felt that after we had done the podcast, maybe on the way home yesterday, I just kind of said to myself, well, maybe this is what the writers were, this is why they went on strike, because they didn't want people like me taking their jobs. Not that I can take their jobs, or not that I'm in a position to get anything made or anything else, but I realized it might be a little bit insensitive. And so maybe I'll put that idea of seeing what AI can do with a script on hold, or
I'm sure it's happening already.
Well, that's what. That's the thing about AI.
You're putting the genie back in the bottle on that one.
Well, I know, and every single.
Apologize for speculating about something that's no doubt happening as we speak.
Yes, and it just seems that every day there's a new wrinkle, there's a new something, and one of the, there are some people that say, well, there are some people that are optimistic about what we can do with AI, and there's other people that are pessimistic, and both, and some people that are both. Like I feel like obviously it's gonna can do a lot of great things for the world, and obviously if it's used the wrong way, could do a lot of terrible things. If it's up to man and mankind to make those type of decisions down the line, it's going to go fucking south.
We don't have a great track record.
No, we have a terrible track record, And
so it's doing the same thing over again and expecting a different result. Yeah, that's kind of us.
I just don't. Yeah, I just don't see it. I thought it was sort of interesting when this is a podcast that I watched that a woman by the name of I just gotta put my glasses on here. I can't even read my own writing. I want to say Jacobson, Annie Jacobson, and a guy by the name of Benjamin Rad, who's Iranian and left Iran like right when the Shah came in. He was these guys are all so effing smart too. They're so smart.
They know their stuff.
Oh my God. And this guy, Andrew Bustamante or whatever, he is, and the podcast is called Diary of a CEO. And it's got like 5 million fucking people watching it. So it's probably been around for a while, but I think I first started watching something about AI on that channel when I was done watching that AI thing. Mm-hmm. This popped up, Jim, that I sent you, and I was just like, so sort of involved in AI and what can go wrong with AI that I kind of all forgot all about nukes. I was like, and
I know Annie Jacobson. She was on Rogan, and that she had written a book about nuclear war. And I remember starting to listen to that episode, and I got about 20 minutes in, and I was like, I can't listen to this anymore. It was
really. What's the point?
Yeah, it scared the hell out of me.
Well,
it is. Yeah.
Well, it is scary. And when you hear the three of them talking about it, there's not very much optimism that goes on. But, Jim Cameron, who was quoted in that article about AI, and he said, I'm using it, make the movies lower budget because we can use it that way. I don't know. I think Jim probably, first of all, Jim moved from Malibu. He had 2 houses in Malibu. He had a whole compound up there. Lightstorm, his company, was here in town, just south of the airport, not Redondo Beach, Manhattan Beach. And, he just picked up and fucked off to New Zealand. And I've never really said to Jim, like, why New Zealand? Jim, why New Zealand? And when I was listening to this podcast, New Zealand seemed to be one of the, and they mentioned kind of Australia too, but New Zealand seemed to be one of the places that if there was what do you call it when they have a fully nuclear event, which now, like they say, it takes like 33 seconds or 2 minutes and 30. Yeah, go ahead.
They talk about that in the podcast, I think, a little bit about safe zones.
Yeah.
There are only a couple of them in the world.
Yeah.
That won't get like Hawaii ain't one of them.
Somebody kept mentioning Hawaii, and she kept saying like, no, not
too many targets there. Too many, Pearl Harbor, for God's sake. It's still a Navy base, you know. Yeah, it's going to get targeted for sure. But I wouldn't be surprised if New Zealand, I mean, that's the premise of an old movie, On the Beach, from back in the 60s about a nuclear holocaust, and New Zealand's about the only place left.
Really?
Yeah. That old movie, On the Beach.
Well, maybe Jim
Remember
saw
those
that.
old Holocaust movies from the 60s? That was one of them.
I wasn't watching Holocaust movies when I was 10.
Well, I mean, there was a whole Dr. Strangelove was in that whole genre of movies.
That's a great
Fail Safe and the Bedford Incident and a bunch of old movies from that era. And On the Beach was one of the better known ones.
Yeah, that's 1959. So just before.
Is that right?
But yeah, Gregory Peck, Ava Gardner, Anthony Perkins.
Who directed it? If you
Stanley Kramer.
There you go.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Ha ha ha. Why?
Oh, he made sort of politically motivated, a lot of kind of politically motivated movies, like Judgment at Nuremberg.
Inherit
the Wind.
I love that movie. I love Judgment at Nuremberg.
Inherit the Wind.
Oh, he made Inherit the Wind too. Another great movie. Yeah.
So political issues, social issues, those kinds of things were very much his subject matter for a period there. And On the Beach would have fit right in that period. Kind of socially minded movies, Yeah.
I understand. Like now I understand why you said, "Oh yeah, there you go." Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
well, getting back to Jim and the fact that he lives in New Zealand now. Jim is always, I think, thinking ahead of the curve. And I have a feeling that not only does he live in New Zealand, but I believe that Jim, and I have no idea because I've not talked to him about it, but I believe, and I wouldn't even ask him this, or I wouldn't even want him to answer this if when he comes on the podcast, I believe that he's got a shelter.
I was going to say probably a compound of some kind, self-sufficient.
No, I'm talking about underground.
That's what I mean. Yeah, a bunker almost.
A bunker. I'm telling you, if I know Jim Cameron, here, just to give you an example of the way that Jim's mind works, I can remember a birthday that I had, and Jim has always been very good at remembering birthdays and cards on Christmas, and he's just always been very good at sort of staying in touch and knowing when your birthday is, and mine's coming up, Jim. It's about 10 days.
I know. It's part of your email address.
But I can remember the gifts that he would give me, and the gifts that I got from Jim. I remember one time, it was my birthday, and it was like Jim sent over something. It was like a big package, and I thought, oh my God, what could this possibly be? And I opened it up, and it was like this huge bag. It was like a survival bag, So if there was a hurricane,
if you were going to go looking for Ike Clanton's bones, you could take that with you, huh?
Well, more like, Jim, if there was an earthquake in Los Angeles.
Okay.
This thing had
the big one,
all the medical stuff. It had, the lighters, the matches, it was like a big survival kit. And,
right.
That's just the way that his brain works. And I would be shocked if Jim doesn't have something underground,
like many times over
bunker, for himself. Because when I hear the guys talking about nuclear dirty bombs and all this sort of stuff on this podcast, it's, the one guy that was a very attractive guy, I think it was in the, I think he's got a military background, this Andrew Bustamante.
Mm-hmm.
He's taking his family, he's leaving. Wherever he's living now, he's taking them and he's leaving because he's been so close to, and probably a combination of AI and the nuclear. Go ahead.
He said people who handle nuclear weapons are really scared to death about them. People really close to how they actually operate and work.
And he was one of those guys sitting in those bunkers in Omaha, Nebraska, or wherever,
Yeah, with a finger on the button, and a key in the.
Yeah. This is the same guy. He's a former covert CIA intelligence officer and U.S. Air Force combat veteran.
Yeah. I mean, he guy's a stud, and he's like I don't know if he's like disappearing off the grid completely, but he's concerned enough that he's taking his family and moving. Anyway, I thought that was I'm just fascinated by how smart those three people were. And how, for instance, the leaders of other countries, Putin maybe once or twice, Trump maybe once or twice, they just mentioned him kind of offhand, like the name just kind of came up. But it's almost like that really didn't make any difference. Like that had nothing to do with the conversations about how nuclear war would start or a dirty bomb would be. And Jim, I think I was trying to explain to you and what I was getting is that, like, explain that scenario one more time where they're talking about a dirty bomb in Iran.
Well, he said the Iranians don't need to enrich uranium beyond where they have to make a dirty bomb, and a dirty bomb would be nothing more than a regular bomb that goes off, but it spreads a radioactive cloud all over a city and would cause enormous damage. It would enormous damage to people because of the radiation. It wouldn't necessarily, cause much damage to structures, but it would put this lethal cloud of radiation out into the atmosphere that would cause enormous suffering and death. That's just one scenario, and they already have uranium enriched to that level. And then when it comes to nuclear weapons themselves, there's such a variety of them. What they were talking about, the strategic versus tactical, and they can have like a 50-pound bomb you could put on a drone. You could put a nuke on a drone. You can put them in the back of a truck. If you ignite them in the atmosphere, you cause one kind of damage. If you ignite them at ground level, a different kind of damage. The range of devices available is so. There's such a proliferation, these fellows seem to be saying, that it's almost inevitable that one's going to get used somewhere along the line.
Yeah.
They were speculating about, theoretically, the Israelis could smuggle a small tactical device into an Iranian facility and set it off. And once that device is set off, it's pretty immediately detectable in the atmosphere. We'll know very quickly if anybody's setting off any nuclear devices anywhere in the world. And if we detect that there's a nuclear device set off in Iran, and the Iranians, are we going to believe the Iranians when they say we didn't do it? It wasn't us.
Yeah,
and
right.
We're going to believe the Israelis when they say we didn't do it? It wasn't us. So you can set off one of those things, and there's no real accountability for it. If somebody fires it off on a missile, like the Russians launched one at us, for example, we'd know within a couple of seconds of the launch that the Russians had launched a missile and it was coming our way. So, and then if it detonated, we can pretty well determine, hey,
one of the things I thought was sort of interesting, Jim, was that, and you probably, because you didn't have very much time with it, but they were talking about how Putin has now used an ICBM. Is that, like for the first time ever, he shot one of those things into Ukraine. But it was empty. I mean, didn't have a fucking nuclear warhead on it.
What they might be talking about are hypersonic missiles,
This is the first time this has ever been.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes, they're so fast you can't. There's no real defense to them. They travel extremely fast. I don't know if they are considered ICBMs. ICBM stood for inter.
Well, yeah. Well, I'm seeing just
missile.
Googling it. It's just the ABC News says Russia launches new IRBM at Ukraine. This was back in November of 2024.
Yeah.
Would that be like intermediate range ballistic missile, IRBM? Do they explain what the initials stand for?
I'll check. I don't.
It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. I think what the distinction about that missile was that it was what they called a hypersonic missile, which meant it goes really fast. There's really no defense for it.
And, when I was listening to them talk about it, I mean, what struck me was that it had never been used before. And it was the type of missile that they would use. They also talked about the type of missiles that America had been making for, years and years and years. I think that ICBMs are, these long-range missiles that could hit Russia and vice versa. And it was Russia and the United States. And, it's one thing that Ronald Reagan seemed to get right back in the day when was it Gorbachev, Jim, that he negotiated all right, we got enough, let's tamp down.
Destroying some of these, lowering our arsenals down a bit. We don't need 5,000 each.
Right.
Let's take it down to like 2,000.
Right.
Even then, that's enough to kill everybody in the world, 10 times over.
Unless you're New Zealand.
No, we'd have enough left over for New Zealand too,
Yeah.
We could definitely fire a couple off in that direction. For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
I one of the changing the subject here a little bit. The last podcast we did, we started talking about Gary Oldman.
Yeah.
And we were talking about Gary Oldman and what a wonderful actor he is and was. And I think that you made an incredible point, Jim, when you said, he played Sid Vicious and he played Winston Churchill,
and he's great in each of them.
Yeah, right. That's
flawless performance.
When they say versatile, the guy's very versatile.
Tell me about it.
Yeah.
And when you talk about like one scene, Steelers, he has a great one in True Romance, playing that Drexel, I think he calls himself.
He's got the dreadlocks.
The dreadlocks, yeah. He has that scene with Christian Slater. So, and I did watch Nil by Mouth last night.
Oh, you did? Tell me about what you thought.
The feel-good movie of the year.
I'm drinking, that's why I'm not laughing.
It's an adult dose of a movie, that's for sure.
Yes, a what of a movie?
Adult dose, a full on, full on session for that movie. It's very good. You really have to kind of stick with it, It kind of reminded me in the beginning. It had a kind of improvisational feel to it. A lot of handheld camera. The bar scene kind of went on long, but once you kind of get into the dynamic of the story, there isn't a lot of story to it. It's really more character portrayals,
Yeah.
I
haven't seen it in 10 years, so I'm interested in your opinion. So keep.
Yeah, and some of it's very raw. The scenes of the drug use, the shooting up is pretty grim. It's Requiem for a Dream type stuff. But it's got some wacky. I mean, Eric Clapton does the music, did the score for this thing, and it's got some great music to it. It's got a whacked out scene where the young guy in the movie who's the heroin user is with a friend of his, and they're reenacting a scene from Apocalypse Now, Dennis Hopper's scene in Apocalypse Now. And it
Wow.
goes on for about 5 minutes, and it's just this crazy, where the hell is this coming from? But it's one of those moments of it's kind of enchanting at the same time. It's so bizarre. So at the end of the movie, I enjoyed it, but you do have to kind of stick with it and pay attention to it. It's not a feel good movie, and it's not one you can kind of zip into and out of. You got to pay attention to it. So
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things that we were talking about is not a feel good movie like The Divide and Requiem for a Dream, and those movies, like Kaylin said, by the way, when we were talking about nuclear events and stuff, Jim, have you ever seen sort of the 8-part, 10-part, whatever series they did called Chernobyl?
Fantastic.
Yeah.
No.
Oh my God!
I really regret
good?
not seeing
It's
it.
amazing.
I really regret.
It is really, really good, and
Yeah,
it stars the son, Richard. It stars the son of a British actor that we're all familiar.
Skarsgård.
Nope,
Oh.
but Skarsgård's in it. But no, it's Skarsgård probably.
Yeah, I mean, Stellan Skarsgård is the main character. I got a long list of cast here. I can just read them off.
Okay, read them off.
Jared Harris.
Harris. All
there
right,
you go.
so that's that's what's
Richard
Harris's son. And to me, they're two star. One's billed in front of the other one, but they're both basically to me, it's more the story. It's a great movie. When was that? Like 2018 or
2019.
2019. I didn't see it until a couple of years ago, and I just couldn't take my eyes off of it, especially the first part of it. And another.
And it's only 5 episodes too. So
it's only 5.
Yeah,
and each one is what 40, 60
probably about an hour.
About an hour, yeah. Okay, it's really, really, really fabulous. One of the other filmmakers that I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about today, Jim, have you ever seen a movie by the name of Naked with David Thewlis?
No.
Okay.
I know who David Thewlis is.
David Thewlis did a movie called Naked. What's the name of the director?
Mike Leigh.
Mike Leigh. Do you know who Mike?
I know Mike Leigh is. Yeah.
Okay. I'm telling you, David Thewlis is fucking brilliant in this movie. I mean, it's stunningly impressive, the performance that he gives us in that movie. And it's basically following him around for 48 hours through the streets of London, or in and out of London, or the suburbs of London. And
wow.
It is absolutely. Mike Leigh is known for a little bit like. He's known for getting his cast together months before they start shooting, and rehearsing it and rehearsing it and rehearsing it. And he did a movie that came out after that. He's done a number of movies. He's probably done like 10 of them. And he did one that came out after that that got a lot of attention in Hollywood that I remember. But some of his earlier movies, it's interesting too, because when you get up especially into the north part of London, and you get these characters talking to each other, you fucking can't understand them.
You need subtitles.
You need subtitles, even though they're speaking English.
Yeah, you do.
And what other movies did he make?
I mean, I don't recognize any of them, so I'll just start from his first and go down.
Yeah.
Bleak Moments, Meantime, High Hopes, Life is Sweet, Naked, we're at 93 now. After that, Secret and Lies, Career Girls, Topsy Turvy, All or Nothing, Vera Drake, Happy Go Lucky, Another Year, Mr. Turner, Peter Lou, and Hard Truths.
I would suggest to people that they pay attention, not pay attention to that filmmaker, because his career is probably like mine, mostly behind him. But I've always found his movies to be a fascinating look at poor English life, and Naked is David Thewlis is just unbelievable in it. And
David Thewlis was in one of the series of Fargo.
Yeah.
The TV series.
Yes.
I think they were in season 3. He was in season 3, and he was riveting through the whole thing.
He was. I mean, he's riveting in this movie. That's why I wouldn't be surprised, because so how long was he on that show?
Well, he was on the whole season. I think it was 6 episodes. I don't remember exactly how many. I think it was 6 episodes. He was in every one. He was kind of a ambiguous character. He was menacing, but you didn't really know what the hell he was up to precisely. But you just knew that he was up to no good. And like I said, he was riveting. He was just absolutely riveting through the whole thing. So I'm definitely prepared to say, hey, if he's in this movie, this Mike Leigh movie, then that's worth watching.
I'm telling you, that's really worth watching. He did another movie. It was, it certainly got its drama, and with Val Kilmer and Brando. What was that fucking movie?
We've talked about this one before. The Island of
Dr. Moreau.
The Island of Dr. Moreau. Okay, well, he was on that set, so it would be really wonderful to have him around. The Island of Dr. Moreau, I know we talked about it before, but did it start out being directed by one person and then end up being directed by somebody else? Is that correct?
I think so.
Let me look into it.
I think John Frankenheimer.
Oh, yeah.
Frankenheimer.
It's saying the original director was Richard Stanley and Ron Hutchinson.
Okay. All right. Well, that's,
It says, the screenplay is credited to the original director, Richard Stanley and Ron Hutchinson, but then it's just on Wikipedia, the one directed by credit is John Frankenheimer.
Right. Well, anyway, that sounded like I thought Navy SEALs was bad. The environment and that, I thought Lauren Bacall was tough. I mean, that just sounded like wow. Having Brando down there. Anyway,
also just a fun fact is David Thewlis is going to be in the next Avatar movie.
Oh, he is.
Yeah, on his Wikipedia, Avatar: Fire and Ash, and it says Avatar 4 after that. So it sounds like he's going to be in the next 2 Avatar movies.
Well, there you go. I guess what do they say? Like minds, like smart, brilliant people, like think alike, like like me and Jim Cameron. Yeah.
Isn't the story? I'm sure this is apocryphal, but the story that on his deathbed, among John Frankenheimer's last words were "Never work with Val Kilmer." Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But he is quoted as saying he would never work with Val Kilmer again. I'm sure the feeling was mutual.
Yeah.
So
Well, I think that, sometimes Joel Schumacher certainly he did Batman with him and with Val, and Joel Schumacher was didn't care for Val very much, but you can be on him. I'm sure that Louis Teague didn't care for me very much. When we did Navy SEALs.
well, I imagine not.
Well,
because you didn't make any secret of your feeling for him either. I don't believe.
But you know what? I tried. I didn't. He just seemed to be an impediment to just making it better. And like I saw, a better movie in that. We had a great cast with Charlie Sheen, who was fun and funny. And I'll tell you, with that movie, I think I've kind of told this story before, but I'll just kind of go through it very quickly. Is that originally I was told by Orion or by my agent Ed L'Amato that Mark Harmon was attached to it or was going to play this other role, and they offered me the role that Charlie Sheen played in the movie. And I read the script, and I just thought, wow, this is a mess. And it's kind of like comedic, but this is got such good. I think Bill Paxton had already signed on for it. But the cast did include Bill Paxton and Dennis Haysbert, who went on to have a wonderful career. Joanne Whalley Kilmer, who I've spoken about before, and how wonderful she was. She did this is a great. She did a English film where she played the mistress of an English politician.
Oh yeah.
Do you know what the name of that one was, Jim?
I think it's called Scandal. It's based on a true story about a sex scandal, the Profumo scandal in the 1960s in England that led to the resignation of a fellow who was high up in the British government. I think he was playing around with a woman who was also sleeping with a Russian spy.
Oh, well, that'll do
And
it.
yeah, I mean, it can kind of lead to difficulties.
It sounds like the
complications
Marilyn
ensue.
Monroe thing where she was sleeping with Kennedy and whoever the mafia boss was, at the time.
Sam Giancana.
Yeah.
No, that was the other. That was Judith Campbell, who was sleeping with Kennedy and Sam Giancana at the same time. But
she was just sleeping with the two Kennedy brothers.
yeah,
Isn't that like John first and then Bobby?
I think Bobby Kennedy was in town that day.
In town the day that she died?
I believe he was. I think he was in Malibu, staying at somebody's place in Malibu. I think I could be wrong about that, but I think that's something that sort of feeds into the mythology,
Speculation, and
yeah.
Oh, we've lived through some crazy times, Jim.
My first day as a messenger at ICM, I was being shown the route by the guy who had previously doing it, and we delivered a script to Tommy Lee Jones, at a house over in Brentwood. And the fellow who was showing me the route said, "Hey, it's a good thing I showed you this because this address is a little tricky to find." So we dropped off the script, and as we were leaving, he said, "Hey, you know what that house is, don't you?" And I said, "No, huh?" He said, "That's the house Marilyn Monroe died in." Oh, wow. So
Yeah, I saw something recently with Tommy Lee Jones and Jim. Can't think of his the comedian, Jim Carrey.
Carrey, yeah.
And how the two of them just really, really well, according to Jim Carrey, Tommy Lee Jones just fucking treated him extremely poorly and said, I can't accept your buffoonery, I guess, is a line, something along the lines of like, I don't appreciate your buffoonery. And I have a feeling that, especially in his later years, that Tommy Lee Jones would have been, you know what? I also saw Billy Friedkin talking about, getting back to old Billy Friedkin talking about Benicio del Toro, okay? And how, I don't know whether Benicio, I've never really heard about his work ethic and how he works, but he was kind of like saying that Benicio del Toro was like a little bit more sort of methody, sort of like, I need a reason to this and I need a reason for that. And he was kind of, in a way, being judgmental about Benicio del Toro. And then turned around and talked about Tommy Lee Jones. Tommy Lee Jones would walk in and, tell him to walk over there and sit down. And he walked over there and sit down, say your lines, and say his lines, and he'd get up and he'd walk out. And he was comparing the two as if, Tommy Lee Jones was this like incredibly wonderful actor to work with, and Benicio del Toro was more difficult for him. But I find that coming from Billy as just being, shut the fuck up, man.
Really?
You are, just shut your fucking mouth.
What sort of matters is what winds up on screen, isn't it? And having just watched Usual Suspects over again recently, I'd say, if that's what Benicio del Toro needs to give a performance, then it works for me as a viewer.
There's only the only reason that anybody might have a problem with any actor's process would be that it costs the production time.
Yeah,
because time is a very, very important
it
element.
is money. Time is money.
And it can be if you have an actor who needs 3 minutes, we're ready to shoot this. Okay, give me 5 minutes, and walks off. Every time he every time he's in a shot, well, that can add up to a half an hour or 45 minutes by the end of the day. And that's certainly something that you don't want. I'm not used to seeing that. I'm not used to seeing any actor, including the best that I've worked with, Ed Harris, certainly Val wasn't the entire cast of Tombstone, I told you I ran into Stephen Lang. Yeah, I ran into Stephen Lang. Oh yeah. I talked about aliens and the whole thing. But the only reason really to moan about and to berate or whatever he was doing. What he was talking about, fucking Friedkin. I'm like, fuck you, man. You're just such a fucking...
I've never heard anything like that about Benicio del Toro. That he's
well, you know what
if
I'm not mistaken, because Billy didn't give a shit about anything. He didn't fucking. He was like fucking. He didn't. Fucking hitting people, shooting guns off behind their head to get reactions. Just just berating people right and left. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Benicio del Toro broke his arm or his shoulder or like a collarbone or something like that, because Friedkin had him up in a tree. I could be totally wrong, and I haven't thought about this for a long time, but for some reason I feel like I've heard that, and I think I heard that from his agent talking to my agent 20 years ago. I've never read it. I've never heard anything about it. But I've never.
I'm just seeing that. I just Googled it. Benicio del Toro did break his wrist on the set of The Hunted, which was forcing a delay
Billy Friedkin.
Billy Friedkin's movie.
Yeah,
The Hunted.
And you know what? Fuck Billy Friedkin. That's just he broke his wrist because Billy was. Guarantee you had him doing something that he shouldn't be doing. You used to have the actors that come out from New York who never driven before and get in the car and fucking drive here and swing around and do this. These guys had never even driven a car before. And it's anyway. I have a love-hate relationship with Billy, but for him to, and something about Tommy Lee Jones. I've never met him, and I really shouldn't have any opinion about him at all because I don't know. But something always makes me. Jim Carrey seems to be a pretty nice, normal guy. I think that when he played Andy Kaufman. Kaufman, he got pretty deep.
I understand that as well.
And,
staying in character.
Was that Milos Forman who directed that? Was that Milos Forman? Who directed the Andy Kaufman? What was that called? It had...
And in the Moon, wasn't it?
What was that called?
Yeah, Man on the Moon.
Who directed it?
Milos Forman.
Milos Forman.
Oh, wow. Wow, he did. Wow.
And who was the girl in it? The wife of
Courtney Love.
Courtney Love, yeah.
Who wrote that?
Two writers, Scott Alexander and Larry.
Yeah, they're the two guys who wrote People
Kraszewski.
versus Larry Flint, the Milos Forman movie.
I was going to say that's.
That also stars Courtney Love. Yeah.
And who plays him in that? Who plays the
Woody Harrelson plays.
Woody Harrelson, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, no, God, he made some.
That's a pretty good movie. Ed Norton plays his attorney. Has a really good role in it. People versus Larry Flint. I'm talking about.
Yeah. Tell me who Larry Flint was exactly again.
Remember,
Jim?
he was the publisher of a magazine called
Hustler. Yeah.
It was like the sleazier version
of Playboy
and Plant House,
Yes.
And he got shot in I think he was down south somewhere. I think he might have been on trial for obscenity or something, and he got shot and put in a wheelchair. And he just was always getting in trouble. At one point, there's a good line in the movie where Woody Harrelson's being wheeled onto a private plane, and he's telling Ed Norton, his lawyer, "Hey, I'm your favorite client. I'm rich and I'm always in trouble." No, that's a fun movie. Do you remember it? Have you ever seen it?
Well, I feel that I feel like now.
Yeah.
I want to go back and I want to watch both of those movies because I have, Jim, but how old are they, Kalen? Like when did they come out, those two movies? They got to be like 30 years old.
I think People versus Larry Flint is close to 30 years old.
Yeah.
Late 90s.
Yeah.
96, People versus Larry Flint.
Okay.
Yeah, that's damn near 30 years old.
Okay. So I feel like I watched both of those movies when they came out. I feel like I enjoyed both of those movies, but I don't really remember them. because it's been 30 years, and it would probably behoove me to go back and look at those two movies. But geez, what else did I know Amadeus and I know One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. What else did Milos Forman direct? I mean, geez, we talk about all these great directors, Jim, and like, who's got the best lineup and John Huston, and we were talking about John Huston the other day, and like Milos Forman.
I don't know why he didn't really, because People vs. Larry Flint was 96, Man on the Moon was 99. The only movie he did after those two, which are both great movies, I love People vs. Larry Flint, and the only movie he did after that was called Goya's Ghosts in 2006, and that's his last film.
And did he do anything of note before Cuckoo's Nest and before?
He's got 4 credits before that: Black Peter, Loves of a Blonde, The Fireman's Ball, and Taking Off.
Okay. And Jim, did he? Am I wrong that he also worked as an actor? At times, have you ever heard that about Milos Forman, that he actually acted in anything? I'm going to get a no from that. I can tell by your slow response.
I don't recall him acting in anything.
He's got a couple acting credits on Wikipedia.
That might be him just showing up in one of his movies and
none of them look like they're his.
Oh, really?
None of the ones that I mentioned are the ones.
Oh, look at me, Jim.
Credits.
Look at me. I knew something that you didn't know about movies. About Milos Forman.
He didn't really have. He directed Ragtime.
Oh,
remember that?
Yeah, of course I do.
Yeah.
Of course I do. That was Jimmy. What's his name? Jimmy. Give it to me, Jim. Come on,
Jimmy.
Jimmy
Cagney.
James Cagney.
James Cagney's last movie.
Yes,
sure.
Yes. Where did that? Is Ragtime based on a book? Because it's
based on a novel I'd read by E.L. Doctorow. It's a novelist who wrote.
What's that? Look that one up.
Go ahead.
Far as Kaylin, look that up as far as like what kind of numbers does it get? Because it seemed like it was kind of a big deal, and then kind of a disappointment.
It was a big movie. It was a big book.
It had a budget of around $30 million, and it made 21 at the box office.
Okay.
But I'm seeing that's rentals. I'll look into it more. Doesn't look like it did big box office. Or that,
who else was in that?
I don't have the cast on Wikipedia. Let me look it up.
Yeah, that was Cagney's. Cagney lived longer than most of those guys back there during those.
Yeah, for sure.
It's, James Cagney, Howard Rollins, Elizabeth McGovern, Brad Dourif, Moses Gunn.
Brad Dourif. Yeah, you use Brad Dourif again. I would use Brad Dourif again. Brad Dourif, who...
Samuel Jackson is in it.
Wow. The thing that I like about Brad Dourif is, as brilliant as he was, and truly brilliant in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, I mean, you just could never find anybody that could be any better than that. Billy Bibbit. That he played that role, but also did the voice for, do you know, Jim? Do you know Kaylin?
No.
Oh, well, I mean, I'm looking it up, so. Yeah.
Do you know?
Chucky?
No.
Yeah, Chucky. You know that movie,
really?
Chucky?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So, we were talking about versatile actors. I think that's kind of an example of it. He did an episode of The Magnificent Seven.
Oh, really?
Which is the show that John Watson did, and who we've had on the podcast. And he was just a wonderful, wonderful.
Do you
actor.
remember?
What didn't he do? What did he?
Do you remember? Speaking of Tommy Lee Jones, a Tommy Lee Jones suspense movie with Faye Dunaway called The Eyes of Laura Mars.
Of course, I remember. I mean,
Brad Dourif plays like the red herring in that movie, the guy that we are sort of led to think is the killer, and he really isn't because he can kind of look like a wacko.
yeah,
You know?
yes. And was that movie successful? I mean, it was a great title. There's something about that's a great title.
The Eyes of Laura Mars.
Yeah. Faye Dunaway. Wow.
Do you remember that movie?
Well, I don't remember what it's about, but I remember when it came out. It was, yes, I remember it. Like, was it a hit? Was it a big hit or not, Jim? Because yes, I'm very aware of the name of it. I don't remember.
I think it was. Yeah,
it.
it was. I mean, in terms of budget to box office, it was a pretty good hit. Yeah.
Yeah, budget $7 million, box office $20 million, and also Bringing It Back, starring Tommy Lee Jones.
Right. Yeah. And who directed that?
Irvin Kershner.
Who's that? Jim?
Who would go on to direct Empire Strikes Back?
Oh.
He'd been around for a while. He'd been directing since the late 50s.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
He directed a Sean Connery movie called A Fine Madness. That's kind of a bizarre piece of work. And in the mid 60s.
Bringing up Sean Connery, I was looking at Lumet movies, and because at some point we're going to talk about Sidney Lumet. We always mention his name.
A little bit more, yeah.
But he did a movie with Sidney Lumet, and because I was kind of doing research for this, I had just watched Serpico. He did the one with Paul Newman where he plays the lawyer.
The Verdict.
The Verdict was good, and Serpico. I had watched one other one, but he did this movie with who did I just mention?
Sean Connery.
With Sean Connery, and he does this movie with Sean Connery, and you can watch a little documentary that they made before they shot the movie, and it's basically the rehearsal time, and Sean Connery talking about how they were going to shoot this movie in 26 days, something along the lines of basically doing it as as well as possible, as good as possible, and they had a great cast, wonderful cast, but they showed him as a director. They would rehearse, and like it says in his book, that they would tape out like what a room would look like, where the chairs were, where the refrigerator was, where everything was, and they would do all those rehearsals because the other great.
You're talking about the movie The Offense. Right?
Yes, and remember for me to get back to The Offense for a second. But one of the lines, Jim, that I think that one of the lines in the book, which is, it might be the opening line, or it's a very famous quote from him, is, you get into, pre-production, you work hard, you're passionate about it, you're like, you've got a vision for this movie, and you rehearse it, and you crew up, and you're gonna make this movie, and from the very first time you roll the camera, after that everything's a compromise.
It is, yeah. It starts to fall apart. Entropy sets in and things start to disintegrate
Well,
on you.
and I started, and it's very interesting to watch because you can see, this is before the movie came out. And at one point, Sean Connery's talking about it and said, we did exactly what we wanted to do. We got all these great actors for playing these roles. We did it in 28 days, which I think back then, Jim, I think it was cheap and very small. It was after he had done the 5 007s.
Yeah.
And so, movies. He was used to, this other stuff. And it's very interesting to watch him work, though, a little bit in that and just kind of see his personality. It tells a very funny story about a movie that he worked on, and Yul Brynner. It's a funny story. I don't remember the story well enough to sort of retell it, but it basically had to do with being on a movie set where they had like hundreds of people working, and everybody had like a little box lunch. Like they'd get their lunch, and it'd be like a little box that they would open up. It's kind of like what Timmy was describing. What's his name gave him? A little box, and you open up, and there's a little sandwich. And he said that Kubrick had they'd call lunch, and this limousine would pull up, or this beautiful car would pull up, and out would come a guy and set up a table with a bottle of wine, and he'd cook a steak and potatoes and do the whole number, and he was sitting there at a table by himself eating steak and potatoes and vegetables, and all these other people had these box lunches. Anyways, kind of interesting to look at the filmmakers before they actually shot it, because I started watching the movie, Jim, and it starts off with some film trickery, or it starts off with this kind of round circle that I had a really tough time with that movie, and I watched about 30 minutes of it, maybe 35 minutes. Subject matter is dark, it's basically about a guy who's killing little girls, raping and killing little girls. So the subject matter is really dark, but I had a really, really tough time watching that movie. But it's interesting watching Sean Connery talk about, I
guess I hadn't really
go ahead.
appreciated that Sean Connery made 5 movies with Sidney Lumet.
Tell me what they were.
I'm not really sure all.
Oh, okay.
Well, the 2 that he made with him before that was The Hill and the Anderson tapes.
Yeah, I remember the Anderson
So that
tapes.
would be the third one.
I'm not sure what he would have made with him after that.
The budget was really low.
Why'd you bring it up if you don't know? Yeah, he made 5 of them. I didn't know that he made 5 until I just read it here. What were they, Jim? I don't fucking have any idea, Michael. What do I look like? You're supposed to be my encyclopedia, Jim.
I know.
Yeah.
So after the offense, they also made Murder on the Orient Express and Family Business.
Okay. Lumet's movies were really something. And Lumet, I guess, we'll talk about the next time, Jim, that we hang out. And I just want to thank everybody for listening. I always enjoy doing this. I always enjoy talking to you, Jim. Basically, I'll call you tomorrow or the next day, and we'll have this same conversation that we just had. We'll have that conversation, and and then I'll say to you,
We'll
we
rehearse
should
it.
have
We'll nail it. We'll nail
recorded
it, not
that.
rehearsal.
Yeah, and you always say, we left our
Game on the range.
on the talking about golf, and
left our game on the range.
Left our game on the range. Yeah,
we over prepped.
Yeah, but I guess we're gonna wrap this one up. Again, I want to thank everybody. Thank you, Kaylin. I love you, and I want to say to the people that listen to this and that write in, I'm very, very thankful and honored that you find this stuff that I'm talking and that we're all talking about, the three of us are talking about, as fascinating as we do, as we move forward into this sort of uncertain world. For me, it's fun to kind of get lost in the past in movies, and that's what I have a tendency to do. Is when I go home, I really don't want to know what's going on. I do to a certain extent, but I'll very quickly move to an old movie or one of these great movies that we talked about. People sometimes, a lot of people ask me about movies and my favorite movies, and I've probably said this before on the podcast, but I've always said, like, and these are all men. I could say the same thing with Meryl Streep, too. Throw Meryl Streep into this group, but Meryl Streep, Jack Nicholson, De Niro, Pacino, Dustin Hoffman, and
Newman.
Paul Newman.
Nicholson.
Nicholson. Yeah. Warren Beatty. Take that group of people and just watch all their fucking movies. And I mean, it's a lot of movies. It's probably 60 movies, but there's going to be a lot of great stuff in there. That was the generation. What was the time period? Then we'll say goodbye. But Jim, didn't you read or have a sort of an understanding or a belief that there was a certain time during the 60s into the early...
It's a comment that Ben Mankiewicz, who was a host on Turner Classic Movies and brother of Josh Mankiewicz. But he made the comment that he thought the kind of the golden age of American cinema was the decade 1967 to 1977, which was the year you and I met. And when you think about it, so many of the movies you and I talk about as movies that were shaping influences on us, like Godfather and Taxi Driver and One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and Cool Hand Luke, were all made in that decade.
Right.
The Graduate, I know, was a movie that was hugely impactful on me. Made in that decade.
That was Mike Nichols, director?
Yeah. You know? 1968.
So what were the years? Do you remember that? What were the
67, which I think would include Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah. From when to when did you say?
67 to 77.
67 to 77. Okay. 77.
Yeah, that would include Taxi Driver would fall into that category. The Godfather movies, The Conversation, the Coppola movie, even Apocalypse Now, I think would fit into that. I think it was made in 77. I don't think it came out till 78, but you know, still that's the era when, and all of Altman, some of Robert Altman's early movies came along then. MASH and Long Goodbye, Nashville, which I'm not the biggest fan of, but still, you know, Brian De Palma got his start in those days. Obsession. So.
Okay. Well, listen, Jim, thank you very much for hanging in there with us. As I've said to you previously and on this podcast, I know how much you're getting paid, so it's nice for you to come hang out, because really without you, Jim, because you're the I would just be, and I've said this, I would just be, and you know, the guy that was in the, that movie with the football players and the blonde, that's me trying to describe you know. And so I need you there to like finish my sentences, and I appreciate that. I sometimes turn down the volume when I get to when I start talking about either Friedkin or a terrible Navy SEALs movie I did. Anyway, thank you.
You bet.
I love everybody, and thank you.
Till
for
next
listening.
time.
Till next time. Bye.
Dirtier than you are doing me